another episode of Health Discourse with Sakshi and Sushant. So, hi Sushant, good morning.
Good morning.
So, folks, today we will be continuing our cancer series, but today, apart from that, we will also be discussing few things about mitochondrial dysfunction. I believe in our previous talks, we have mentioned it time and again that how mitochondrial dysfunction could lead to several chronic health issues. And also in our last talks, a few talks in the cancer, we have also mentioned it could also lead to some cancerous situations. So, Sushant, let us begin this discussion. And I think over to you from here because I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to explain this in a better way.
Yeah, I'm going to start with basics today, right? So we know that our body is made up of cells. Every part of our body, every body organ have its cells, right? And these cells hold key to our health, right? And they are, you know, generally three different way how our cells die. What we call is. It is degradation of cells. The cells die and new cells come in, right? That's a normal process, right? So cells who have degraded, who cannot function properly, probably they're replaced with the new cells, right? So there are three ways. One is we know that apoptosis, which is again a programmed cell death, then necrosis, and then autophagy, right? And these are the way the cell dies and we have new cells, right? But there's another thing which has come up with since 2012, and till now there are more than in excess of 10,000 research papers around this concept, which is causing you know various health issues, starting with diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, so, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and even cancer situation, what is called ferroptosis. Again, in simple words, it is the loading of iron in the liver, right? And uh, obviously, we have discussed this earlier also that, the absorption of iron again depends upon your microbiome, right? So if you don't have like sort of microbes never active, probably it can lead to iron loading in different parts of the body. You remember, we had a customer who had skin issues because he was seeing too much of iron supplement.
Iron overload. Yeah, that
Overload,
was
right?
a so for the benefit of audience, I would like to tell you that that was a 62-year-old male, and he had this problem of eczema. And what later our findings was that because of excess iron overloading, it was causing eczema. And then there were other factors as well, some presence of specific strains of bacteria and in his profile, and the functional activity of a lot of them, which was causing this inflammation. And approximately after 6 months of the interventions, he was in a bit of a relief from his, excessive itching, and then there was a lot of sweating he used to experience. So a lot of these nutrition-based remedies had helped that person, right?
Mm.
So I think you should
So that
continue with,
that is
yeah,
but I'm talking about a very specific cellular activity, right? Where
yeah.
causes ferroptosis, causes iron loading in the liver, right? Which has a spillover effect everywhere, and uh, so again, it goes to basics. A cell, every cell has a cell membrane, right? And to maintain a cell structure and fluidity, we know that we need cholesterol, lipids, fatty acids, right? There's one fatty acid which we have forgotten, or probably we have been given to believe that foods which are high in those fatty acids will make us fat, right? And that fatty acid is, pentadecanoic acid, what we call as C15. So penta 5 deca 10, right? Pentadecanoic acid C15, which is an essential fatty acid which needs to be there in our cell, right? Which make sure that we maintain our cell structure and fluidity, right? But this particular we are not eating. So some of the food which are high in this particular acid is, all the dairy linked food like cheese, like butter, ghee, right? Beef and other fatty fish, right? So we, and even the whole this whole fat milk, right? So again, all these things have a lot of this acid, and if you don't have this acid, because we're not consuming it, right? And another important fact is that I'll just briefly about talk about this acid first. So again, your gut microbiome has a role to play. So when you consume inulin, fibers, and polyphenols, certain microbes in your gut could convert into propionate. Now again, your liver uses this propionate to produce C15, right? Which is again required for maintaining of your cell structure. So essentially, your gut microbiome has a role to play here, right? Uh, Coming on to, so when we are consuming a lot of these fragile acids such as seed oil, vegetable oils, right, oils which are high in polyunsaturated fats, right? So omega 6, right? So it changes your structure of your cells, and it becomes more than when this fragile accumulation is fragile as it goes bad, right? These fats go bad, right? So essentially, these it reacts with oxygen, causes lipid peroxidation, right? And again, which is again a starting point of that's it is so the non-existence of C15 or lack of C15 in the cells is makes cell weak, right? Your cells become to age, and that's how we also age, right? So it is linked to all age-related diseases, right? And when your cells become weak, so probably your red cell, basically the blood cells, right? So again, it is replaced by new cells. So what happens is macrophages from the liver goes and eats up these cells, right? And again, it is replaced by the new cells. So that's normal process. But when this macrophages eat these cells, so probably there is a residual, what we call as iron, right? And iron gets deposited in the liver, right? So it impacts your liver cells. It harms your liver cells, right? And when this thing goes on and on and on and on, there's an iron overload in the liver, right? When there's iron overload in the liver, it has a spillover effect. It can enter the cells. It can react with lipid. It can interact with lipid periodization, right? To uh, to cause reactive oxygen species, right? And we know ROS it harms your mitochondria. It leads to mitochondrial dysfunction. We know mitochondrial dysfunction is there, so probably it has a role to play. It becomes there's the uncontrolled cell growth, right? We know the food we eat is diverted towards lactate fermentation, lead to cell proliferation, cell growth, right? Activation of biosynthetic pathway. I think we have discussed this in our previous talks, right? But how mitochondrial dysfunction leads to cancer development. Right? So essentially, this is one of the way a person can develop cancer. But yeah, so ferroptosis is this overloading with ferroptosis is even set to it is a double-edged sword. So it is also set to disrupt the cancer cells also, right? It's a both way, but it has a larger effect, and this is the reason we have seen. You have heard of a lot of people developing cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes in an early age, right? Like
Yes,
early
we have
20s,
seen
right?
that.
Right,
Even in
right.
30s, people do develop that.
Yeah. So this iron deposition or iron uploading, there is a cascading effect. It goes into bloodstream, right? Again, because your liver cannot, and their liver cells are getting damaged, right? There's expression of certain enzymes, and then it wants to get rid of all this iron, because otherwise liver will go for a toss, and that's one of the reason why we have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, because your liver uh, cells are destroyed, and again they inappropriately respond to glucose, so it could lead to you know insulin spike as well, right? And it will lead to high glucose levels. These cells, these ions can enter into cells. They go to different uh, body organs like pancreas. Because it gets a pancreas, there is insulin resistance. It goes to heart. There's a heart disease goes to, then there's a brain health issues. So much so that research has found that mothers who are deficient in this acid C15, right? Uh, the children have cognitive health issues, right? And also because the child gets mitochondria from the mother, right? So so essentially, there are children the mothers who are pregnant females who are deficient in this acid, because they have been told do not consume all these saturated fats, probably because they will make you fat and all that, right? So essentially, uh, the child have an offspring have an cognitive health issues, right?
Yeah, something here is that, that during the pregnancy, on the contrary, they should be told. I mean, in the Indian household, if we see it that ways, they
Mm.
ask you to consume fat because it's not because of the weight and all, because traditionally it has been this thing that eating more of these things like ghee and a lot of these laddus made of ghee, so these things give you that energy. That has been a belief
This
traditionally.
is a wrong notion that fat will make you fat. Your body needs fat.
I know that.
Your brain is built up of fat. Your body needs cholesterol. So all these people who are giving statin to suppress cholesterol, right, is you're starting a cascade of chronic health diseases, right? So when you don't have cholesterol, you don't have vitamin E, you don't have bile acid metabolism, right? Uh, your brain doesn't work well, right? So multiple your cell structure impacts. You have low nitric cell production. It cascades. It impacts your blood flow. A number of things, right? So essentially, this ferroptosis again, it has a lot of issues, and even so first of all, it is a wrong notion that we should not eat these fats. You need to have this. Now, very simple, I'm explaining very simple is pentadecanoic acid. Penta is 5, deca is 10. So C15 is the acid which we need to. And again, you need a lot of diet which is high in dietary fiber because it activates certain genes which leads to production of propionate. Propionate is used by your liver to produce C15, right? So if you can take from food, you also can feed your microbiome so that they can produce this beneficial acid, right? So, and again, the children who have been given formula milk, right? Formula milk do not have this C15, right? Which is another reason why children have, cognitive health issues, ADHD, autism, a lot of these issues, right? So again, ferroptosis from a cancer perspective, yeah, it is a double-edged sword. It could lead to mitochondrial dysfunction, and it could also, probably lead to death of certain cancer cells. But again, there are multiple factors at play. You also look at, what dietary choices you're feeding, whether you're feeding your cancer cells or not, or probably cancers are they using your energy sources to do lactic fermentation, right? So there are multiple things which comes into play. So again, it could cause cancer, it could even suppress it, right? And it has an impact on longevity, which we discussed, right? So, right, because your cells as you also age, right? So cells become weak, they start aging. So essentially, this C15 is really beneficial, right? And we should have all these in our diet, right? So whether you take cheese, whether you take ghee, whether you take butter, right? If you are from the western part of the world, probably beef and all these, or probably fatty fish, right? Which is again another you know essential source of C15, right? So again, this is important to understand from, and that is the reason why younger generation is developing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in children, right? Chronic kidney disease in children, and we have heard this, right? Diabetes, obesity, right? So these iron can also attach to adipose tissue, and you can gain weight. So if you are thinking that I'm going to do a calorie deficit, I'm going to eat too much of protein and do weight loss, right? You are in for a surprise. So there are multiple cellular activities like these which could disrupt your metabolism, which could make you gain weight, which could lead to adiposity, right? So again, adiposity we know is a risk factor for type 2 diabetes also, right? So again, do not always blame sugar, right? On developmental metabolic diseases, right? So they are actually lack of essential fat is also one of the reasons why you may have this. Yeah.
Pretty interesting because when you mentioned about NFLD in children, so and iron overloading. So what came to my mind was that lot of foods today, packaged foods or healthy snacks, which or whatever is coming up for the children, and even the premixes, the for dosa batters and these
Hmm.
pancake batters, the without maida and all these things. They add fortified vitamin D, and then they also add folate to it, folic
Hmm.
acid, okay? And which, I mean, because a lot of these foods, they are adding these things, additives. I mean, the supplementary form of these folate and folic acid. So could that cause iron overload also?
I'm not, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it. Probably need to deep dive into it. Right?
No,
But
because
again,
what we have seen is that today, these days, mostly all these products, even whether it is your milk, pasteurized milk, they are giving with fortified vitamin D, right? Which is fine. Okay, we
so
understand
milk
that
should.
vitamin
I
D.
think I know milk should be fortified with this fatty acid also.
Yeah,
If you're
and
eating slim milk, if you're drinking slim
yeah,
milk.
skim milk, right? Then also the snacks and the premixes, even the flours also, whatever they are giving, they add these vitamins and minerals, even folic acid for iron, right? So
See,
I mean,
I've discussed this earlier also. I think the folic acid, the difference between folic acid and folate, right?
yeah,
Folic acid is cannot be metabolized. There's a low bioavailability and metabolized. It can only be metabolized in liver, and then there's low bioavailability of enzymes that can metabolize it. So probably people who are taking folic acid will not benefit much. So probably you should look at folate. I think which is vitamin
folate,
B9,
folate, which
right?
is the naturally produced
Yeah,
by
and
body,
again,
not
folate is
as
given
an
given by your microbiome because B vitamins are you get B vitamins from your body cannot metabolize you get from the bacteria, right? From the
yes,
gut
yes,
bacteria, right?
yes,
So
that's true.
so again, so there is a role of microbiome here, right? And uh, second thing is even ferroptosis, right? Your nitric oxide could suppress ferroptosis. So again, your role of oral microbiome comes into picture here, right? Which has been started to now people are starting to focus on their dental health, right, and oral health. And still, a lot of people, there's no one in India apart from us who is actually uh, measuring the biochemical functions performed by oral microbes, right?
Actually,
So,
now we are doing it both. One can actually get both gut and oral through a single
the
sample,
same
right?
price, in the same price, yeah.
At the same price. So,
Yeah.
for the benefit of users, you can just tell them how they can avail it.
Yeah, so probably we have uh, a combined a full body biochemistry solution or a Pro where you could you know we take your saliva and we measure the biochemical function of gut and oral microbiome. We predict four diseases here, right? Pre-disease signal for type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, chronic kidney disease, and other causes. Right? We also give you predictive glycemic response for 300 plus foods, and we also give you a pre-precision nutrition program which could uh, regulate your biology and bring your body back into homeostasis, right? So this is so you get both things, right, at the price of one. Okay? Someone who wants to do only gut, that is also available, right?
And for all those who do not have much knowledge about oral microbiome, they might say that, how can the gut and oral microbes be the same? So, for their information, approximately 60 to 70% of the
More
microbes
than
are
that,
found.
more what
Actually,
I've
more than that.
what I found is more than excess of 80% is so it's a lot of these microbes in the mouth, they travel to the gut via saliva, right?
Via saliva. Yeah.
So obviously we actually swallow saliva, 1 liter saliva every day, and depending upon your microbes in your mouth, whether it is good and or probably there's this versus or a balance, probably if there's potential pathogens moving to the gut from mouth to gut, it could cause inflammation, right? So we look at the port, right? They couldn't share at least 75 to 80% of the microbes. So essentially, there's no point of just decoding, just telling you about the pattern. So we look at both, right? So again, what happens in mouth happens in the gut and happens in the and what happens in the gut happens in the mitochondria, right? So essentially, it is linked to everything. So that's why we are bullish on oral microbiome, and this is going to be future. I mean, that's why we started with the cancer. The first cancer testing product is for oral cancer, which is again we're
For
looking at
oral
the
cancer.
biochemical functions of
OSCC.
yeah
Okay,
OSCC.
squamous cell carcinoma, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
we're looking at that, right? Coming on to that, so essentially, you need to understand your C15 levels. Probably, if you're not consuming these foods, which they should be part of the diet, and how much. Again, if you want to have a precise, probably you can sign up for our solution. We could tell you how much of each food, each substrate you need, your body need, and what frequency you need. That's very precise for your biology, which is not done by anyone, right? So companies may say we're using AI and blah 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 blah. There's nothing. In India, there's as of now there's no much data to say we are using AI, right? So so we generally are data driven. We are a deep tech company. We use mathematical formulas to actually combine your or align your pathways, your molecular data with the food ontology to give you food recommendation, right? So again, it is a complete data driven, and that's what makes us stand out, I think. Yeah. Ferroptosis is another way of cell death, which could lead to mitochondrial dysfunction, which could lead to reverse mitochondrial dysfunction, which could lead to metabolic disease like type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, cardiovascular disease, even cancer situation, even impacts the brain health, right? So again, you know, fix your gut microbiome because your gut microbiome converts your even if you don't want to eat, suppose you have still finicky about consuming fat or ghee or butter, right? So probably have a lot of inulin fiber, which is going to be converted into finite, and which when you take up a liver to produce C15, it's in both ways, right? So essentially, you have to fix both your gut and liver. So process can be inhibited by your natural oxide production, which is again an organic form of natural oxide production. Is your microbes in your mouth convert nitrate into nitrite. This is stomach as the fish, nitric oxide. So again, nitric oxide suppress ferroptosis. So you have to take care of both your mouth and gut.
So thank you, Sushant. That was a very insightful discussion about mitochondrial dysfunction, and I hope users might have benefited from that. And I'm pretty sure if they have any questions, they can always write to us at our email ID, which is support@genepathletics.com. And in case anyone wants to have a free discovery call, just go to genepathletics.com and please fill out a form for a free discovery call. We will be happy to hop on a call with you. Thank you, Sushant.
Thank you.